Check. Welcome to the Ghostwriter Reviews podcast.
Our chief medical correspondent is Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and he joins me now. So good to see you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Hey, Don.
So I want to talk to you about the CDC director warning that the coronavirus could be even worse next winter. That is a pretty frightening prospect. Why is the director saying it could be worse?
He's been saying this along with some others in some way, shape, or form for a while. I think the big thing to remember is that when this coronavirus hit in the United States, it was sort of at the tail end of flu season this year. The concern is that in the fall, both coronavirus and flu might hit at the same time. And, flu's a big deal. Flu's always been a big deal, Don. So if you get both of these respiratory illnesses happening at the same time, you run into many of the same issues that we've been talking about for the last several months. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be enough hospital beds? Are there going to be enough ventilators? Is there going to be enough PPE? Can we test? These same things, even though we're starting to have some plateauing and even some decrease in some states with the numbers, the virus is still out there, Don. It is still a contagious virus. It is still something we need to be mindful of, and there is a concern that we're going to have these waves. Let me show you something really quick, Don. This is going back 100 years, 1918. And I'm not going to show this graph to alarm anybody, but I just want you to see 3 waves of the Spanish flu. Started in March of 1918. That was the first peak at the far left. That was a small peak. It was the second peak, Don. That was the one that caused the most devastation, really. And that's what we're going to avoid. But we need to be prepared to avoid that. That's the concern if we don't act. But this physical distancing, the stay at home, sometimes people don't realize how well it's working because we're in the midst of it. And we're like, maybe this wasn't so bad. We dodged a bullet, whatever you might think. It's because we're doing something totally unprecedented.
At the core of our agreement is $320 billion more for the Paycheck Protection Program, which is already saving millions of small business jobs and helping Americans get paychecks instead of pink slips. Mr. President, this is even more money than we had first requested a while back. In the intervening time, and at our request, this new money puts a special focus on community banks and credit unions.
The new money includes $50 billion in additional emergency small business loans and $10 billion in additional business grants. That includes $60 billion in new funding set aside for small lenders. If you don't know a banker, if you're not a relatively large-sized company, you were left out. 2 out of 3 loans in New York were ignored by the mom and pops, the small businesses, the restaurants and the barber shops, the hardware stores, the butchers, and small startups, both service and manufacturing. They couldn't get in. Now they will be, because of our work.
Hey, doctor, a final question for you. John Carl indeed led the questioning on the hydroxychloroquine today. If you take that out of the equation, are you seeing or reading of any good therapies out there that would give patients hope and their doctors right about now?
Oh, absolutely, Brian. The good news is there are actually dozens and dozens of investigational treatments. So let me emphasize that the data is still very early, but there are much stronger kind of not just treatments, but I'll call them supportive treatments, Brian, where we know, for example, that perhaps not intubating people, but using nasal cannula, the little tubes through your noses, might be a better intervention, and doing things like actually putting people pronated, which means kind of putting them on their stomach, would actually help them. So believe it or not, Brian, and if there is a silver lining, it's that you've got scientists and doctors who actually know what they're talking about, follow the evidence, and we're seeing results, which does give us hope for that fall wave.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.